Hello everyone. Welcome to Dhamma USA weekly Sunday session. Today we have Venerable I. Sunim, the abbot of Meditation Center for the Zen community. Venerable was first ordained in Sri Lanka in 1977 and then in Korean Zen tradition in 1984. He arrived in the USA in 1991 and since then he has been teaching Buddhist meditation. He is the guiding teacher for the Insight Center in Westwood, California. He founded the Meditation Center for Zen Community in 2005, a retreat center in Pearl Blossom, north of Los Angeles. His publications are Dhamma Reflection, a manual for Buddhist meditation, and attachment management. Today's topic is psychology of loving kindness. May I please request you for the Dhamma talk?
Thank you very much for inviting me to join your group. And before I start, let me pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the exalted, the worthy and fully enlightened one. Today, my idea here is to bring a little awareness into this loving kindness discourse, which you all have heard and very familiar with. It is a discourse that monks chant every day in the temples, at houses, and also lay people chant this all the time. There is no question about the effect of that discourse. It is a very soothing terms in it. When you faithfully listen to it, it calms yourself down. And also the idea in the loving kindness discourse is to develop the benevolent wish for the whole world. At the same time, if you look into the discourse at the very end, it tells dittincha anupagamma silavadasanena sampanno kamesu vinayagedang nahijatu gabbaseyang punareti. That means not falling into wrong views, virtuous, with insight, with sense, desire, discipline, one does not come into a womb. That is the attainment of a person who practices loving kindness meditation. So, before I go further, let me chant this discourse and then I will further explain it. Karaniya matta kusalena yantan santam padang abhisameccha sakko ujucha sujucha suvacho chassa mudu anatimani santussa kocha subharocha appakicchocha sallavuka utti santindriyocha nipakocha appagabbo kulesu ananugitto Nachakuddang samachare kinchiena vinyu pare upavadeyung sukhinova kemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta yekechi pana bhutatti tasava tavarava anavasesa digavaye mahantava majjima rasakaanukatula dittava eva aditta echa dure vasanti avidure Bhutavasam bhavesiva sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta naparo parang nikubbeta nyati manyet kattachinang kanchi vyarosana patiga sanya nanya manyasa dukkha miccheya mata yata niyam puttang ayusa eka putta manurakke Evampi sabba bhutesu manasam bhavaye aparimanang mettancha sabba lokasming manasam bhavaye aparimanang uddang adocha tiriyancha asambadang averang asapattang tittancarang nisinnovā sayanovā yavatassa vigatamiddo etan sating aditteya brahmametang viharang idamaho dittincha anupagamma sīlavā dassanena sampanno kāmesu vineyya gedang nahi jātu gabbaseyang punareti ti. So in this loving kindness discourse, when we look at it has this idea. It is called matta kusala, karaniya matta kusalena. The karaniya atta kusala, which is translated as a calm state. Sometimes it is translated as a welfare, a peaceful state. This is the whole idea about in the very beginning, the Karaniya Metta Sutta, loving kindness discourse introduced. So, this peaceful state, in order to develop, in order to attain, that we have to enter a particular course of action, you see. That action is what Sakko, Uju, Suju, Suacha, Mudu Anatimani means. These words has a particular meaning, and that we have to be very good at those meanings. We have to be skillful in developing these meanings of these words or these qualities in order to attain that peaceful state. So, when we look into the history of this discourse, there is the story that is a bunch of monks who went to the forest to meditate and then spent some time meditating, and then they were disturbed. They could not meditate. They had some sort of a difficulty there. And then they thought, some evil spirits were disturbing them. Therefore, they were distracted, little frightened. Then they came back to the Buddha and told what happened. And then Buddha taught the monks this discourse, and then they went back and started to meditate, and there was no problem. They were developing their mind, and they didn't have any whatsoever disturbances. And therefore, this discourse was introduced as a loving kindness meditation or loving kindness discourse in order to chant and practice. So that is how this chanting, this discourse became a tradition, not only developing our own heart and mind, but spreading the loving kindness to all living beings. So, when we look at that story, there is nothing wrong with believing there are evil, bad spirit out there that sometimes can disturb us, you see. These beliefs, these kind of ideas, they are all over, you see. People believe these things, and we don't need to try to dispel it, If somebody feel like that, that's all right, you see. At the same time, we have to look at our mental state also. Sometimes distracted people people with disturbed mind, people who don't have inner peace and happiness, they also project all kind of things in their own mind, you see. Sometimes you can see we, under different circumstances, when we are frightened, how we unreasonably project all kind of things in our mind. So if we know how to keep our mind in a kind of a stable way and listen and look, and that way when we relate it to our environment, we don't need to be scared, we don't have to be frightened, because our mind is stable. So we find so-called monks or practitioners who develop their mind, who have attained some sort of a inner peace. They can live in any environment without bothered or frightened by their environment. That is how the monks live in the forest for a long time alone without any whatsoever problem, because their mind was stable, you see. So in this discourse, this is what this first stanza is talking about, you see. When we look at each stanza, which begin to mention, which mention a particular quality, particular uh, character to develop, and then step by step, it further expand that development. So this Atta Kusala in the very beginning, the peaceful state or this calm state basically means emotional well-being, you see. This is what as human beings that we all want, you know. We all want to have a peaceful passage in life. That is why we try to get a good education, a good job, and marry to somebody who we love, and to get a good retirement, and then settle into the peaceful life, you see. This is all the well-being, you know, that we are planning for, that we have been working so hard in life to attain, you see. We can, in a way, get all those things that I mentioned, but still there won't be inner peace and happiness unless we have developed those qualities within us, you see. Sakko means skillful, you know. Not only the skill we need in our ordinary, in our normal life to succeed, in order to attain some sort of a spiritual peaceful state, also we need the skill, you see, because we have to develop our mind in order to experience that peacefulness. It is not just something that we can achieve just by praying or chanting, you see. Praying and chanting, of course, has a certain effect, you know. Don't misunderstand me. They are necessary. There is a value in it, you know, that practice. But at the same time, we have to get that skill developed so that we can go through a transformation. That transformation gives us the lasting peace and happiness, you know. That is what that Atta Kusala basically means, you know. In order to achieve that peaceful, calm state, the welfare state, that emotional well-being is the whole idea. Karaniya Matta means Atta Kusala, or karaniyang atta kusala. So, in order to do that, we have to be skillful. This skill is in this stanza is mentioned in 5 words, Uju. That means you find in the translation, this is how uh, it is mentioned, you see. He who is skilled in welfare, who wishes to attain that calm state, should act thus. He should be able, upright, perfectly upright, of noble speech, gentle and humble, you see. The words that I just said in every translation has a slightly different tone, you see. It has a different meaning. Sometimes different words are used in many translations, you see. Every translator use their own whatever the words to give this meaning, to make some meaning out of it. But the Pali words very clear: Uju, Suju, Suacha, Mudu, Anatimani. These 5 words are very clearly we find in the first stanza, you see. So then the Uju basically means upright, you see. What is this uprightness? This uprightness means in our life, you see, whatever the goal we want to achieve, that we have to be very focused. If you get married and you want to be happy, if happiness is your goal of getting married, then you have to make sure no matter what kind of difficulties, hardships that you have to face, you stay focused. You cannot be distracted, you see. That is what marriage vows are all about. In happiness, in sickness, in health, in whatever the circumstances are, you're supposed to be there, committed to it, you see. You cannot suddenly get distracted and run away. Usually it happens. In many cases it happens. But a successful marriage means overcoming all those difficulties, hardships, and frightening moments. It is not only the marriage, you see. Any other work that we want to do, we have to have that upright state. We got to focus onto it, and whatever the difficulties, hardships that we come across, we got to face it, and we have to tolerate it and go through it. That way we can achieve what we want to achieve. Spiritual practice is the same. If we want inner peace and happiness, this spiritual well-being, then we have to have that upright state of mind. Upright here means that we once make our mind, when the time goes by, we will be influenced by all kind of external influences, you see. It can be weather, it can be news, it can be any other distraction from outside, you see. And then we change our mind, you see. That is the normal, natural state of mind of people. They make vows, but they cannot keep it. They have resolutions, but they can't hold on to it. That means, in another way, they don't have the consistency, you see. They cannot commit to it. These are the personalities, these are the characters, these are the weaknesses that we as human beings have, you see. Therefore, not to surrender to external influence is what upright means. If you're going to meditate, because you hear a sound, because you smell something bad, doesn't mean you have to give it up. Yeah, smell bad. The noise is there. But I sat down to meditate. I cannot surrender to this, whatever the external influences, but I have to sit here and focus and do my thing, you see. And that is what the upright means. It means consistency, continuing dedication to it without surrendering to the outside influences, you see. And then the second quality that we're supposed to develop here is suju, you see. This word suju is translated as perfectly upright, or in another way to say, further degree of uprightness. So that uprightness is a very important thing, you see. What is that further degree of uprightness means? It means even though we don't surrender to the external influences, the changes, the influences come from our own system, you see, because that we have been living for some times, you see. So all kind of bad experiences, good experiences, pleasant and unpleasant experiences we have gone through, so that we have some sort of a baggage that we carry around. And those things influence us. Those things from time to time arise and weaken our purpose, you see. And that we usually don't see, you see. These are our belief, cultural, religious, political. Sometimes we learn it from our mother, father, all kind of things. What happened to us as a child? These are all there, you see. This is what sometimes, this aspect is what we use in the Buddhism as, there is a term for it, it is called upadi. Upadi means assets. It is just like all what belong to me, all what is mine, my karma, my whatever the experiences, like, dislike. This bundle is just like, in a way to say, the backpack that we are carrying around. All my stuff is in my backpack. So wherever I go, I carry my backpack. That's where my identity is, you see. So then these things arises in our own system and distract us, weaken us, you see. If I give you another example to understand, make this clear. Suppose, you need a job, and then you apply for a job, you give the application, and then the person who received the application doesn't respond in a nice way and just take it. And then when you come home, you are already discouraged, the way the person received the application. Didn't show any interest. Took it and said, I will call you. And then you already given up because that whatever the responder discourage you. So you come home and your own mental state very negatively reflect on that incident. Therefore, you already given up. You already decided not to give a call and check whether they still consider these applications. You already given up. That happened because you made that decision. It was your impression. And these kind of things happen to us all the time, you see. We have to be very careful in a certain way not to let this kind of influences which coming from ourselves influence our decisions. This is in another way to say our prejudices. So we mostly talk about other people being prejudiced, but we never look at our state of mind, how much we have these prejudices, you see. They are deeply buried in us, you see. Sometimes, even though we want to be nice and courteous, that way we respond, but still we do that with an agitated state of mind. Passive words are used with an agitated mind, you see. We can wish peace and happiness for the whole world, but still we might be deep inside in an agitated state of mind. You see. So then the further degree of uprightness means we need to look deep into our state of mind, you know, whether we keep focus onto the purpose or my own whatever stuff arises and disturbed me and discourage me, and I give up the whole project. I give up the whole practice. I go in a different direction. If that happens, the spiritual development cannot be achieved. Not only the spiritual development, even in our normal life, whatever the projects, whatever the success that we're supposed to achieve, cannot achieve if we have that kind of inner weaknesses. These are very obvious, but in our personal life, we fail to notice it. So in a meditation setting, that we have to see how my inner distractions influence this. These are the things in another way we call inner enemies. You know, all what we are aware of is enemies who are out there, people who don't like us, people who are jealous of us. Those are the things that we are pretty much aware of, you see. But my inner enemies, when they arises, when they influence my decisions, when they change my direction, we don't see that. You. So then the uju and the suju means two things. Not surrendering to the external and then not surrendering to the internal influence is the other. You see. Without understanding these two aspects, we cannot correct ourselves. Without correcting ourselves, we cannot put a very stable foundation to achieve this inner peace, this calm state, this emotional well-being, you see. Spiritual development is not an easy thing, you see. You got to understand how the mind works. You know, that is exactly what Buddhist teachings are all about. You know. This is the psychological aspect of Buddhist teaching. Reciting, chanting, these are all good work. You know, it has its purpose. You know. Something can be achieved with it. But practicing is a little different thing, you see. That is inner work that you have to do alone, you see. These kind of practices are very personal, you see. In silence, you have to do that. So these two qualities, uju, suju, the upright and further degree of uprightness, when we developed, when we are good at it, skillful, sakko, when we are good at it, there is a transformation within our own body-mind process, you see. This is what in Buddhism that we talk about causes and effects. Whatever the way you think, whatever the way you behave, whatever your character, and then there is consequences of it, a good result or the bad result. This good and bad results are immediate in a certain sense, you see. We don't need to be born again to go through these kind of things. It is immediate, here and now. We see it, if we really look in our own body-mind system. So, what is the result here? Suacha, this third word in this first stanza, which is translated as a noble speech. In some other translation, it says obedience. So, suacha basically means some sort of a disciplined behavior, you see. Verbal, physical, mental, discipline. Discipline is what this suacha basically means, obedient nature. That doesn't mean you just have to be obedient unreasonably or to any kind of a thing. This obedience also is not that you have to be a doormat and take all kind of abuse kind of a thing. That is not what here you see. It is basically means a psychological discipline. The psychological discipline in a certain sense, if I give you an example, this is how I understand it. In our everyday life, you see, there are situations, whenever some work is given to us, as soon as we see that, we just get so frustrated, you see. And immediately we disagree, we don't like it, we have some sort of a reaction coming out of us rejecting that thing, you see. It's a very quick, instant reaction, you see. Sometimes, when some workers come and if you tell them what to do, immediately they quit. They don't want to even do the work. They say, no, I don't think, I can do it. They immediately go. So that means these people, this kind of people have already a lot of emotional things, disturbing things, some sort of a conditioning in them that generate immediate fear and the frustration. They cannot wait. They cannot be patient. They are very quick to reaction. So then when you develop this suacha, the obedient quality, even though it is a hard work, even though it is very difficult, that you are capable of calming yourself down and in a nice way try to do what you can do. And if you cannot do it in a nice way to express yourself without creating a mess, without creating a problem, without reacting, in a nice way to communicate. So this is something to expect from people who have some sort of a mental discipline. These are people who have this upright quality and the further degree of upright quality, that they are capable of maintaining some sort of a obedient like that, you see. This obedient here basically means you are capable of calmly dealing with the situation without reacting, responding aggressively, angrily, very frustratingly, you see. We see in the society there are a lot of people that they have this kind of a reactionary behavior. It is all because their mind goes in all kind of a direction. There is no whatsoever discipline. That upright quality is missing. Further degree of upright quality is missing. Therefore, they are quickly reacting, responding angrily, frustratingly, negatively, and so on and so. So then the obedience is something that we teachers expect from students. Sometimes, students expect discipline from teachers too. In our everyday life in the society, some sort of a obedient response, a disciplined response is expected, you see. Even when we go to a particular business place, a post office, a bank, there are other people in front of us. You can hear sometimes some people in the line responding in a kind of a little aggressive way, you see. It is all because their mind is so agitated, frustrated, going in all kind of a direction. As soon as they see a couple of people are there in front of them, they are already discouraged, frustrated. They are responding like that. But the suacha quality is very important. We have to have that whatever the little obedient, patient attitude, until the first comes are served so that my chance comes and I can get my thing done, you see. It's the same thing when we hit the road. When there is little traffic, you can see how people started reacting angrily, you see. Sometimes even though the driver is alone in the car, you can see how their reactions are. It is all because the mind is already disturbed. The upright quality is not there. Per the degree, uprightness is not there. Therefore, they are already reacting. You see. That is why I said when we develop the upright quality, further degree of upright quality called uju, when we have that, as a result, this kind of a discipline comes. The discipline is you are capable of disciplining your words, thoughts, and deeds, and wait until the situation clears. You have some sort of ability to hold yourself together, you see. Even in a meditation session, that we have to have it, you see. We should be able to maintain that kind of discipline. If we don't have it, we are just kind of agitated, frustrated. Sometimes you can see people quickly get up and leave the place. They cannot even wait another few minutes until the bell is ring. So this is what this suacha quality means. These are necessary qualities to develop in order to put a foundation for inner peace and happiness. In order to achieve that well-being, that So the Suvacha quality is a discipline, being able to hold yourself without reacting to this and that, you see. So, and after that, when we develop that, whatever this discipline, the obedience, which is verbal, mental, uh, physical responder, when it is developed, it leads to the other quality which is mentioned as gentle, you see. Uju, suju, suach, mudu. Mudu is the quality that is translated as gentle, you see. So then when we have the disciplined state of mind, that obedient state of mind, what is this gentle means, mudu quality, mudu, that means whatever happened to us, whatever we have to face, our system take it in a kind of a moderate way, you see. Usually when we don't have this quality of the mudu or the gentleness, whatever happened, we take it very personally, you see. This happened to me, he did this to me, she did that to me. This is the way a normal, undisciplined mind responds, you see. So when we develop this upright quality, further degree of upright quality, this obedience, when we developed, the good thing about it is we are not panicking. We are taking whatever comes in a kind of a moderate way, you see, without personalizing it, you know. And even, you know, when we look at that setting into this, whatever the background of this loving kindness discourse, the history, whatever happening out there, so-called evil spirits or the tree spirit or whoever, whatever they are, whatever the disturbance, whatever the noise, whatever the thing happening out there, if we going to take it as a, oh, they are disturbing my meditation, that going to be a problem, you see. And this gentle approach here means taking things very lightly. You know, they are doing their thing. That's how it is. You know, there is a couple of there are a couple of dogs in my neighborhood that people have. You see, sometimes when I have a meditation class, I can hear these dogs bark. You know, we never take it very personally. You see, dogs bark. You know, that's their nature. You see. It because they may know the person or whatever reason they bark, you know. So we don't need to take it very personally, you see. They are not barking all the time. Whenever there is something, that's what their response is, you see. So when I take it in that way, sometimes you see, I don't even know the dogs are barking. It's not a problem for. It just simply become a normal thing. Nothing is taken personally, you see. And that is what this gentleness is something like bumper in a car, you see. When some sort of a impact happen, when something hit from the back, that impact is reduced by this whatever the bumper, you see. So the gentle quality, mudu quality means we have to take things very light manner, you see. Even though when we try to sit and meditate, if the meditation doesn't go well, under whatever circumstances I was physically, mentally distracted, and then I have to take it very lightly, you see. I can't be very disappointed my meditation didn't go well, kind of a thing. If we have that kind of a personality, then we are getting into more messy situation rather than improving ourselves, you see. So these are the gentle quality is a transformation of the upright quality, the further degree of upright. When these things happen, this kind of transformations happen, you see. Gently taking whatever it is, you see. It's an important thing, you see. Because if we're going to react to everything what happened from the morning to evening, we're going to be very exhausted, frustrated, and mentally, physically tired, you see. You can see sometimes how people are exhausted in their life, you see. It is because they have no control over their response. Everything is taken personally, you see. If you keep responding like that, it becomes a mental disease. That's not a good thing to develop, you see. So these things we just cannot say, oh, I'm not going to react. I can decide not to react, but it comes through us, you see. This is why we need to really understand these things. This is why this practice is very crucial, you see, very important, you see. This order, the way what we supposed to do first, is very important, you know. In this loving kindness discourse, these are the things explaining, you know, when this is what happened. When this disappear, this is what happened. The causes and effects very beautifully explained in this discourse. So then the gentle means a mild approach, you know, taking everything in a light manner, you see. And when we develop that, the fifth word, the last word is called humble, you see. That the Pali word is called anatimani, you see. Atimani and anatimani is the opposite. Atimani basically means arrogance, huge pride kind of a thing, you see. But arrogance is an inflated self-image, you see, grounded in illusion. So when we develop these qualities, uprightness, further degree of uprightness, obedience, gentle, and then this humble quality means there is no inflated self-image, you see. That means there is no some sort of a obstinate quality, you see. Not obstinate, free from pride. That is how it is translated, you see. So the free from pride, not obstinate in another sense, means that we are not putting a particular stand onto things, you know, this should be this way, that should be that way, that kind of a way. Very strongly, we are not setting a particular norm. That means the way things happen, we accept, we deal with it. The way the life goes on, we accept it, we deal with it, rather than saying certain things I don't want to happen, certain things I would like to happen. We cannot have one without the other, you see. The way life goes, we have to accept it, rather than having this self-image and setting a particular standard and want everything my way, you see. And sometimes, you see, the some people, they use this whatever the arrogance or this pride as a defense mechanism to cope up with inner feelings of worthlessness or powerlessness, you see. And when we develop this uprightness, further degree of uprightness, obedience, gentle qualities, we are in power, you see. We have developed some sort of a worthiness within ourselves, you know. Therefore, there is no reason here to generate some sort of arrogance, you see. And also, that quality is in a way free from evaluation, you see. Therefore, it put a very solid foundation to achieve this, whatever the mental calmness, the mental well-being, this happy state that we talk about from the very beginning is possible because skillfully we have developed ourselves, you know. So these are the qualities in relation to the first stanza of Karaniya Metta Sutta, loving kindness discourse, you know. The skill is these 5 qualities to be developed if we really want some sort of a peaceful passage in life, you see. This peaceful passage is basically a samadhi state, you know, a peaceful state. Once we put it there, develop it, once we achieve it, and then there is a psychological change, you know. And what is that change? These are the changes explained after that in the second, third, fourth, and fifth, whatever that verses you see. Because each stanza, when you look at, you see it explain a particular quality that we develop, and then how our mind, little by little, open to the whole world, getting rid of our prejudices and our discriminations. These things, little by little, get out of our system, and our body mind is developed so that loving kindness lasts long to the whole world, you see. Not only to the people close to us, but those who are far away. Not only to the people that we have seen, but also to the people and sentient beings that we haven't seen. In this way, you can see step by step how this loving kindness flourish, you see. And then at last, as I said, it leads this, whatever the practitioner, to a state of mind where that he is not coming back to be conceived in a womb, you see. That means in another way of a transformation to a better realm where peacefully that person can exist, you know. So this is my simple introduction to the psychological approach of the loving kindness discourse. And I think, you know, this will help you out. And thank you very much.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much, Bhante.